Hello everyone and welcome to another WorldEdit tutorial where we're going to go through some more advanced terrain building plus masks and Gmasks. If you're already familiar with WorldEdit and just want to get a little bit of advanced terraforming going, then keep watching. But if you're not sure of some of the basic commands, then I recommend going to the playlist down in the description below and watch the other 5 episodes because it'll get you really familiar with everything we're going to use. But make sure you come back and watch this one after, alright? That's the law. This one is actually quite a short one, but it's amazing what you're going to learn in it, so don't go anywhere. So we've already gone through all the commands you would need to be able to build this really quickly in WorldEdit, plus a load of other really useful commands as well. What this episode is going to do is going to show you how to do it much faster and much more easily with loads more control. I'm not going to mess about, let's just get on with it. The first thing I'm going to talk to you about is paths, because every good world needs something to travel along, right? And they've got to look interesting. I've got a command here that if you've watched the other videos you should be familiar with. This is going to give me a sphere that is 20% coarse dirt, 15% packed mud, 30% dirt path, 10% mud, 10% stone, 15% grass block that has a radius of 4 blocks. That is a really nice mixture for a pathway to go through your world. But there is a problem. If I use this brush, all I'm going to do is I'm going to build a load of big spheres. That is no pathway, not by anybody's standards. Pathways are generally flat against the floor, so how are we going to do that? We can do it by making sure we are only affecting one type of block when we use our brush. This is called a mask. I'm going to do a Gmask first, and then I'm going to tell you about the dangers of it. I'm going to type just one slash Gmask, and then I'm going to pick the block that I want all of my commands to be affected by. So I'm going to go for the grass block. Click that, and that means that all of the blocks that are in the brush that are grass blocks will be affected, but no other blocks will. So if I use my brush again, you can see all that's happening now is we're getting a really nice wide pathway going all the way through the world with that mixture of blocks. That looks brilliant. I've not got any of those daft spheres, and what's really nice is because underneath these grass blocks we've got dirt blocks, it only affects the blocks on the first layer. However, you really have to be careful with Gmasks because it affects every command that you're going to be using in WorldEdit, not just the brush you're playing with. I can illustrate that by selecting everything around our pathway there, and if I just do slash set and I want to set it all to, let's say, stone, that changes only the grass blocks to stone and leaves the pathway there. Now you might actually like that, or that might be a problem to you. So remember, if you're using a Gmask, it's going to affect everything. What's good though is if you type slash Gmask just on its own, that turns that mask off, and if I were to do that again, it would affect all the blocks in that selection, not just the grass blocks that I'd masked. But don't panic, there is a command that you can use that will only affect the brush that you are using. It won't affect any of the other commands, and in fact, it doesn't affect any of the other brushes that you might have either. And what's nice is actually really simple. I've got my brush right here. I'm going to type slash, just a single slash, mask, and I'm going to space it, and I'm going to mask the grass block again. What's great about this is it will do exactly what it did last time. I can create myself a path with a really nice mixture just here. That looks fantastic. But that has only affected this actual brush. Any other commands or brushes I use won't have the same effect. And just to show you that, I've selected just like I did before. I'm going to do slash set stone, and it's turned everything to stone, not just the grass blocks. I've got another brush tool here that's got a very similar pathway on it, but I've not put any mask on. So if I click it there, you can see that still is giving me that sphere effect. It's not giving me a flat path effect. That mask has only affected this individual brush. It is still there, you can see. And it doesn't just have to be on a flat surface. I've made kind of a little tiny hill here. I can use that exact same brush to go straight up that hill. It will replace all of those grass blocks, even going up and down, and it gives for a nice terrain effect. Look at that, that's nice, I like that. Go on, admit it, that just saved you hours, didn't it? Now, paths are great and all, but we need to be able to do so much more than that to get good landscapes. For example, I've got this rocky hill behind me. I want to landscape it up so it is a beautiful, flowery, tree-ridden hill with pathways and all sorts leading up to it. But I'm a busy man and I want to do it quickly. And there are a few options. Let's go through them. The obvious first thing to do is to get a layer of grass over this stone. Now, last time I dropped a load of sand on it. I then replaced that sand with grass, and that works perfectly, but that's a number of steps. I told you, I've not got a lot of time. I want to be able to do it in a single command, and I can. I've selected the entirety of my little stone hill here, and I've got a bit of space above it. The bit of space above it is really important. If you haven't got that space, it won't work. I'm going to put a block on top of it, but just one block thick, which means I need at least one block above my rocks. However, if I want to do 6 blocks thick, then I need at least 6 blocks selected above my rocks. I'm then going to use the clever replace command, / replace space, then the greater than sign, and then the block that I want to put things on top of, which in this case is stone, and then the block that I want to put on top of it, which in this case is the grass block, and then I press enter, and that puts a grass block on top of every single stone block. If I get rid of that selection, you can see it much easier. That's really easy and really quick. But for me, this is too regular. If you want it to look really good, you've got to do something else. You've got to give it a little bit more detail. I've got the same stone hill selected, and I want to put something on top of it in a single command, / overlay, and then what it is I want to put on top of it. So we'll go for the grass block again, and that's going to pop one grass block on top of each and every stone block. But you'll notice this time we've not lost that stone face. The cliffs are still visible, which frankly is far more useful, because how many times have you come across a hill that you want to play around with that is just one single block? It's always a mixture of blocks, isn't it? So the overlay command is really useful here. And I'm going to demonstrate this with this textured hill. It's exactly the same hill, but I've switched up some of it to cobble, some of it to andesite, and the rest of it is still stone. I can still do that overlay command really easily and get my grass layer over the top of it. With my area selected, / overlay, grass block, and it will put a grass block on every single one of those blocks, not just the stone. And then you can use a cylinder command or something like that just to make sure it's all smoothed out across the edges, and then obviously a smooth brush to make it perfect. Now let's say you want to texture your hill up with something a little bit fancy. I've got a fancy pattern laid out here. It's mostly grass, but we've also got coarse dirt, a little bit of gravel, a little bit of mud, and some packed mud, and it makes for a really nice pattern. I think it would look fantastic on top of my hill, but to place that exactly like that on top of that at multiple levels, it's going to be really difficult. And why would I want to do anything difficult? So what I want to do is I want to select my pattern, and I want to put / copy to place it into my clipboard. I've then selected my rocky hill, and I've got plenty of room around it. I'm then going to use / overlay with sand just to make sure that we've not got any holes. We've got that completely covered up with sand, and then I'm going to do something really silly, except it's also super clever. I'm going to use the command / replace the sand and then #copy. Watch this. This is awesome, because when I press enter on this command, it's going to overlay that section, the picture on the right hand side, onto my sand. Just like that. That is just so amazing. Let's just get rid of the selection so you can see it really clearly. So we've got that picture overlaid perfectly across this hill and the surrounding area. And what's also awesome is if there wasn't any sand there, it would just miss out those blocks. Let me show you what I mean. I've dug out some of that sand so it looks a little bit more natural and a lot less square. And if I use that same replace command now, the results are even better. / replace space sand space #copy. And you just get it where the sand was, so it misses out all of those extra bits that look just a little bit weird. So you can design whatever you want, maybe a picture of an axolotl, I don't know, whatever it is you want on your hill, you can design it and then copy it and paste it directly on top of it. Let your imaginations run wild. I've come back to the original hill, which I've expanded with some cylinders and smoothed them off so as it looks a little bit more slopey, and it's just a little bit bigger too. And I've got some fairly looking natural rocky bits at the top. And there's one more thing that I want to show you using the brushes. I've put in a little bit of pathway just to make it interesting, but that wasn't what I wanted to show you. I'm going to use this gold pick as a brush, and I'm going to put in this command /br space sphere space 10% grass, 5% tall grass, 10% cornflower, 10% dandelion, 10% poppy, 5% rose _ bush, 5% lily of the valley, and 45% air, space 6. Yep, that is a long command, and you can change up the percentages and the flowers and the grasses that you want to use entirely to your taste. It doesn't matter. As long as you add them up to 100%, that is great. But make sure you've got about half of it as air. No less than 40%, otherwise it's going to look completely overgrown. You are then going to put in this command /mask space greater than sign, which is going to put things above the block, and then we're going to select grass block and then enter. That is going to place that mask on top of this tool, and then if I come up here and I use this tool, I can just pop flowers and grass and tall grass, and you've got the percentages that you suggested coming out of that. And you can see it's already, just with that 50% worth of flowers, it's already a lot of flowers. You might even want to consider doing far, far less. That's what it looks like when you've only got about 50% air going into it. It's really, really overgrown. If you think you've done too much, you can just make it an airbrush and keep the same mask on it, and it'll just delete out all of those flowers, or maybe just some of the flowers depending on where you wanted to get rid of them. I think that looks much more natural with 75% air. And then pop in some custom trees and maybe a little waterfall, and you've got an absolutely beautiful hill. In the next episode, I'll show you how to import these custom trees as schematics, or create them as a schematic so you can use them in another world. Because being able to use schematics properly will change your building to a level you would not believe. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please do make sure you hit that like button and the subscribe button, because it costs you nothing, but it really helps me out. And I'll look forward to seeing you in another video. You take it easy now. Bye.